welcome to the new podcast, the Impact Driven Brand Series. This is like divine timing. Ebony is our guest for today, and today is July 7th, 7/7. I just feel compelled to share this with you that my grandmother recently transitioned on Veterans Day, 11/11, and her address was 77th Avenue. My daughter was 7 pounds, 7 ounces. I went into labor with her at 7 p.m. and I had her at 7 a.m. on October 28th.
You're not going to believe this. So my daughter,
What, Ebony?
born 11/11/07.
Wow, look at that. Look at God. Oh my God. So y'all are witnessing something here, okay?
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Oh my gosh. So it's really just divine timing that you're here today, Ebony, because you are actually the first guest who has booked for the new podcast series, Impact Driven Brand Series. I told you a little backstory on how I was connected to all white women on a podcast platform that I had signed up for a while ago when I first started my podcast. And that just didn't sit right with me. And that's part of what kind of led me, back into, this journey of, continued self-discovery and really just trying to get answers to like, what is happening around us? What is happening around us? So I just want to give Ebony her official introduction because she deserves it. She is an incredible mental health advocate. She's a life coach, and she's the mastermind behind Healing, Not Hurting. Ebony's journey is truly inspiring. She turned her own internal struggles into an impact brand, promoting holistic wellness, helping people to unleash their true potential. And through her organization, she's been fostering spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional healing for over 3.5 years. She's a certified life coach, and she specializes in transformation, confidence building, life purpose, and goal setting. She's a pro at equipping you with the internal tools that you need to become your best self. Ebony firmly believes that wellness is the new luxury, and she's on a mission to make it accessible to everyone. So, Ebony, I just wanted to extend you this warm welcome. It's an honor to have you here. And I just want to thank you for your work and your genuine commitment to, the overall wellness of everyone, but especially, the wellness within our community, the Black community.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about how you came to create this powerful impact brand, Healing, Not Hurting. What was the inspiration behind it?
In 2019, I had gone through a really traumatic experience. I was at the lowest point in my life. I spiritually, mentally, emotionally, financially, I was at a low place. And I have to dig deep. I have to begin to do the work. And actually, in the midst of me doing my own work, I said, this is not just me. It's, pretty much everyone in the world, but definitely within our community. I need to create something to help other people, and really in particular, other women, other Black women. So I started with just a journal and, a t-shirt. I said, wait a minute, it's deeper than that. You can sell a journal, you can sell a t-shirt, but it's a movement behind it. Resources really need to be out there for people that are looking for them. Yeah, so that's when I started to dig deeper and create the company to what it is today, the movement, the Healing Not Hurting movement, with the coaching, the courses, more books. Yeah, but it started with my personal journey of being at my lowest, from pain to purpose is pretty much what I usually say.
Yes, I love that so much. And I feel like a lot of you who are listening, me included, I can definitely relate to that. And that's part of the reason why, we started our movement with Impact Driven Brand, is literally taking your experience, taking your own struggles, and turning that into something that can help others, something that can, enlighten them on the fact that they are not alone, and that sounds so cliche, right? Like, you're not alone, but it's like,
but
no, you have to realize the power of this mind we have, okay?
Yeah.
You have to remind yourself every day, I am not my circumstances. So I love how you took, that pain and turned it into your purpose and, it's just beautiful how it comes, full circle when it's just a ripple effect. You're helping someone else to heal. They're healing themselves, maybe healing within their family, because when you're healing, obviously it's going to emanate, right? So families are changing from the work that you're doing. Relationships are changing. Marriages are changing. This is the real work. You think about work and it's like, work to get money, but it's like, no, what is the real work? Because
this is the real work. Yeah, this is the everyday, the nitty gritty. This is the, and even now, some days it's not fun, it's not comfortable, but this is the work that it's necessary for, myself, like you said, family. It's a cycle, a good cycle, trickling down. Generations, just from the work starting here.
Exactly. I love that. And I love that you mentioned generational, because in this mindset and mental health segment, that's what we're going to be talking about, is the intergenerational trauma and the ancestral trauma that we all experience, specifically us in the Black community. So, it's clear that the history of systemic oppression has deeply impacted the American Black psyche, right? But can you help us understand the ways in which historical events like slavery, segregation, how these continue to manifest in our collective consciousness, particularly that of Black women? Because I'm sure you work with a lot of Black women. How does that manifest? How does that show up without anyone feeling like we're just going there, we're going deep, we're digging in? But we have to be honest about where we came from in order to get where we want to go. So how does that show up, like with some of the clients that you work with, and even for yourself?
I think it plays a huge role. I mean, you see it even down to, self-esteem. You see it with our families, the way that we are with our children. And I think really for myself and others that I know close to me, like it has shown up oftentimes with our healthcare. Like we see that quite a bit in the healthcare, in the world of healthcare. I've been in the hospital before, and things like your pain level. They don't believe you when you're talking about your pain level. Well, this is wrong with me. I have this going on. Oh no, they send me out of there. So definitely in healthcare, and just really with self-esteem, understanding who we are as women. I think a lot of it also affects our self-love and understanding, self-care, going back to slavery and systematic racism. We never had a chance, like my grandmother and great-grandmothers, they never had a chance to love themselves and mind who they were, and to practice, what we call today self-care.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned self-esteem, because I feel like, this is a topic that isn't taken as seriously as it should be, because I feel like when your self-esteem is affected, like that trickles down into pretty much everything else that you do in your life. How you show up in your household, how you show up in your marriage, just how you're showing up as either your best self or your not so best self. So I love that you mentioned self-esteem. Now, so let's branch off from self-esteem and talk about imposter syndrome then, because a lot of our listeners are going to be in a position where maybe they feel like they have this fire, they want to share their struggles, their experience, their expertise with the world. But now it's like, okay, but can I really do this? What type of challenges and limiting beliefs do you see kind of come up in your work with clients? And like, how do you help your clients to work through that using, maybe a little bit of a self-disclosure? So like, inflection, and then kind of guiding them along the way.
Being completely transparent. First started out, I struggle with that. I'm not good enough. Who am I to help someone else? And, how can my little journey, my, what I've gone through, what is that going to do for someone else? So just, I'm completely transparent with people, clients, up first. But then, I tell them, hey, your journey does matter, because like what you said a few minutes ago, it's all, it's a cycle. Like, we're helping one another. What you've gone through, you may have no idea. Like, I could be secretly struggling with that, or recently gone through that, and you sharing what you've gone through could have been that little piece of what I needed to move forward and start my journey of healing and, becoming a better person. So yeah, I just try to tell people, no matter where you are, how you feel about yourself, you matter. The world needs to hear what you have to say. You're somebody. The little piece that you feel you may have not enough or not good enough, you are. Like, you are. It doesn't matter what the world has told us about ourselves, ancestors. We matter. We're good enough. Our stories matter. And we need to hear, we need to share, we need to help one another.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love that. And I think it's important for people to realize it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to share, your shortcomings or, your challenges, your limiting beliefs. And I've heard from a lot of people who talk about, in the context of like sharing their story, they say, you know what? It's okay to share what you want to share when you're ready to share it. After you've processed it, it's okay to go ahead and share so that way you don't feel like you're re-traumatizing or you haven't really processed. So I love how you just say you keep it transparent. Yeah. So are you familiar with ancestral healing? I feel like this is something that people kind of maybe see as woo-woo, or they associate it with maybe a certain practice or religion in particular. But what does ancestral healing mean to you when you hear those terms?
Well, for me, and I could be wrong, but when I hear it, for me, that's digging deep, going back the generations before, grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-great-grandmother, and looking at these cycles that are consistently coming up now, pinpointing, okay, this is my grandmother, my mother, my great-grandmother, what happened here? Digging deep and understanding where it came from, where it started, then coming back forward and relearning, unlearning behaviors, traumas. So for me, that's what it's, digging deep, going back down the line. I know for me and all of us, there are some things that we have brought within our lives. It's been passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. And we have to dig deep and do the work.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, it couldn't get any better than that, the definition. So, so I would love to know, because I know you have a mastermind and I know you do coaching. So what do you see come up the most within your own community as it relates to just mindset blocks, limiting beliefs that, keep those clients from really fully expressing themselves in their business and their life, just as an individual?
I would say, kind of like what I was saying a few minutes ago, I find that a lot of people that I deal with, they're ashamed. And being ashamed, it keeps them stuck. And it keeps them stuck in business, personal life, like marriage, relationships. They're ashamed of what they've gone through. And honestly, a lot of things that we go through, it is our fault, but it's a lot. It's not. Like you said, it's intergenerational. It's been passed down. And until you begin to do that work, you don't really understand that. You just think, well, why am I this way? Why did this happen to me? Until you begin to break it down and dig deep, So I think a lot of it's shame.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a good one. I definitely, that's something that I feel like I've been working on releasing, and I feel like we all have to give ourselves grace. We have to realize that everyone has a past. Everyone came from somewhere. But the shame, oh my goodness. I know for me, shame had come in around not being where I think I should be, feeling like I'm playing catch up, realizing how smart you are, how intelligent you are, and feeling like, wait a minute, I should be further than where I am, not realizing God's timing is not your timing.
And and you're right where you need to be.
Exactly, exactly. And I was actually in a group not too long ago where we talked a lot about this, a group of women who shared similar experiences like what we're talking about. And I've seen that come up a lot as well. Shame, guilt, amongst other things. But what I will say is that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to dig into the ancestral and the intergenerational trauma, because I feel like the more that we learn about the system that we're inside of, that we've been placed inside of, I feel like it gives us more power. It empowers us. It helps us to give ourselves more grace along the journey, to realize that this is a construct that was created specifically for the Black community. So I've been talking a lot about like some of my self-study journey, I guess you could say, into, the history of our people and our ancestors and just what they had to go through. But then really digging into like the laws, like Black codes, redlining, really digging into the information that not a lot of us have the time nor energy to do when we're worrying about keeping a roof over our head, taking care of our family,
the children.
Yes. So, in a sense, as I began digging into this information, and being more intentional about the world around me, the system that we're in, the more that I realized, wait a minute, like we got to stop beating up on ourselves. We really do. We're inside of an ancient system that was designed to block us everywhere we turn.
Everywhere.
It's been infiltrated in every area of our life.
Families, careers. Yes.
But I also feel like not a lot of us want to face it because it feels like we're perpetuating it. But really, it goes back to what we said. If we don't know where we came from, we don't know where we're going. We were talking about giving ourselves grace. We were talking about realizing the world that we live in. Really being intentional about our thought and what is really going on around us and giving ourselves grace. That's the main thing, giving ourselves grace. So, Ebony, I would love for you to give us some insights on whether or not the history of slavery, segregation, systemic oppression, was this discussed in your household growing up, in your immediate household, maybe with extended family members or whatever that looked like? Was this a topic of discussion like at the table and at events and things like that?
No, we did not have that discussion. And I don't know if I don't know what it is, but within the Black family, we don't have those important conversations in general. Like, we don't want to talk about pretty much anything but surface level matters. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the trauma and, the pain that it's going to bring out that we want to stay quiet. But to answer your question, no, we did not have those conversations at all. And it was the beginning of my journey. I didn't really dig deep into understanding, the oppression and systemic racism and everything. It was really, I would say, maybe in the last year and a half or 2 years that I began to, understand, okay, well, this is this way because of this, oppression, in the workplace. So I took some time to really be able to, because now, with my siblings, now that we're all adults, we have these conversations now. And I find myself, my daughter, she's 15. To some extent, I'm having those conversations with her. So
exactly.
It was really, say, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I began to dig deep. And like I said, with my siblings, we now discuss these things.
Yes.
And I think that's maybe a part of, where we are today.
Yeah.
We are a little more vocal. We do want to understand where we came from versus where we're going. Like I said, I mean, it's hard, but ultimately, I think collectively, we do want to understand where we were and look forward to where we're going. So,
yes. Yeah. And I just want you listening to realize that this is another thing that I think we need to give ourselves grace with, because I'm just like you, Ebony. I literally just started digging into this more after my grandmother's transition, and that was back in November. So I want to say what I'm hearing from you and how I can relate to what you just said is, this wasn't the topic of conversation around the table, around the dinner table within our homes. But I will say, for me, I've heard little snippets here and there,
Okay.
that my grandmother, would try to relate to us. But I feel like at that time, I wasn't the most receptive, because I was so concerned with making a living, being independent, trying to prove yourself. School and career was just, that was the main focus, and that's what was talked about in the household.
Yeah.
It's not to say that it's a bad thing, because we want to be economically empowered. And, there's a reason why our families are like, listen, you need to focus on this, this, and this so that you can do this, this, and this. But it's like, I feel like sometimes in the Black community, especially with us Black women, we feel like we have been challenged to be the most independent and to had the best career, had the best this and that. And it's like, it's almost like we've had to pick and choose between, really holding space for what we need in order to develop as women, as Black women, as just a person in general, because we have to focus so much on how we're going to keep the lights on, how we're going to take care of our children, how we're going to do X, Y, and Z. How are we going to help how can we maybe retire our mama or our grandma?
Yeah.
I know, this is my personal experience. And I just think it digging into this history has been heavy. And I see why in our families and in the Black community, why there's so much just like surface level, like, oh, okay, we know this and that, but we're not really digging in. We're not really trying to organize and plan and solve these issues in the way that we would like to, because we're preoccupied with just, trying to stay alive.
Just trying to get ahead. Just trying to, like you said, pay the bills, keep the lights on.
Yes.
And to add on such heaviness, I'd rather just leave it alone.
Yeah. It's heavy. It's really heavy. It's mentally draining. I remember watching Roots, I think, oh my goodness, shortly after my grandmother passed. And I was just boo-hooing in tears. Like, I just cannot believe what I'm watching. I can't believe that this is being classified as ancient history. No, this isn't ancient.
It's not ancient. Yeah. It's not at all. My grandmother, she was 95 when she passed. It'll be 6 years in August. But just like I said, I did not take advantage of all I should have learned from her. But the little things that I did. I mean, she picked cotton. She worked, for the white family. So and it was my grandmother's, not great grandmother. So
yes,
this is not ancient. This was very close to home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is why I think it's important for us to be more mindful about how this system was designed and how we can navigate mentally, because that's where the foundation lies, what are we consuming? If we are consuming a certain piece of content, something like Roots, how can we shift our perspective around it? How can we pull the wisdom out of it? Even during that grieving period, because that was a grieving period for me. I was grieving for my grandmother, but, I also felt like my grandmother, my ancestors were, kind of guiding me into this content so that I could be having the very conversation I'm having with you today, so that I can look up and say, well, wait a minute, why am I being linked with all white women? Do I really have to type in a hashtag into this software and type Black and type indigenous? And I'm just like, that was just the tipping point for me. And then once I really started digging into like the laws and the codes and the black codes, I'm like, that's mentally draining. That is meant.
It is.
So it's like,
Yeah.
and are you familiar with epigenetics?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm no expert on epigenetics, but I do know the very basic part of it is, this is in our DNA. It's been passed down through the blood, the trauma, the anxiety, the stress, all of that, And so, this is why I think it's important for us to have these conversations. If you feel like you need help and you need guidance, with limiting beliefs, with shame, with guilt, don't hesitate to talk to anyone, please. Someone like Ebony could be like your lifesaver today, and a licensed therapist, obviously, there's so many resources around us. Yeah, but I
really suggest a licensed therapist, but that's another thing. There's such a stigma there within the Black community. We don't want to talk to a therapist. I know in my family, it was heard many of times. Oh, I'm not going to tell someone else my business,
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a very important piece.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree. And so I would love for you to give the listeners the opportunity to find you, tell us where they can find you, tell them how you can help them, how they can work with you, and all the places they can find you.
Okay. All right. So you can find information about the company at www.healingnotHurting.com. There we have, again, like I said, there is still the lifestyle brand. So if you want to wear something to empower you on your journey, we have that there. But then also there's books. That's where you can find out about coaching. And even for the children, I don't know if you saw, I've recently started a high school program. Again, if we start young, we can catch them before we're, how we are now, just now digging deep. So there are resources for high school students to begin this process early. Instagram at Healing Not Hurting. We have Healing Not Hurting Teens. And then for the coaching, you can find me at the Bloodline Changer.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. And I love that shirt. I have to order that shirt. My biggest flex is changing the bloodline.
Changing the bloodline. That's the one
I love it. Yes. I'm going to get me one of those. Because that is what we're doing. Having these conversations. Don't underestimate, the power of one conversation, guys. If you're listening and you've been wanting to start a podcast, you've been wanting to, go live on Instagram, Facebook, don't put so much pressure on yourself. And I'm telling you this because I'm coming from this.
Same. I'm always, how do I look? Did I say the right word? Did I mess up there? But 9 times out of 10, people are not even paying attention to that. They just want to hear the message, and your message was something that someone else needed to hear.
That's right. That is right. Yes. So if you want to get your mind right and you want to make sure that you are, being your best selves, embodying all that you need to embody to go forward and change the bloodline, switch it up for our community, and be that next, historical figure that, is changing the game, then you definitely need to be linking up with Ebony. She has a mastermind. She's wonderful at what she does. And also, if you feel like you want to get a podcast started, you want to start your business, maybe you teach on mindset, money, policy, then you definitely need to be signing up for our impact brand assessment. And that is where our agency will do a full evaluation of your business in its current stage. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, we help you get, your services in order, your offerings in order, and get that baby off the ground, get it going, get more visible and spread that impact. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much, Ebony, for being here today. Again, it's an honor to have you here. And I know that we are going to be forever connected. So,
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you for taking your time and having me on. I really
yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you.